That's David Birdsell. He is going to be talking to us about the New York State budget. Tomorrow, the 2026 budget season kicks off in earnest here in New York State when the Governor Kathy Hochul, gives her annual State of the State address. This is essentially her to-do list for the year, her progress report. She's going to tout her successes and then tell us what she has planned coming up for when she puts forth her budget and lawmakers vote on it in April. So we wanted to kind of dig into some of the particulars of this. This is always sort of a charged time in New York State. Everybody's looking forward to what the governor is going to say in this address before the full legislature tomorrow. So let's bring in David Birdsell. He is provost at Kean University. Thanks for being with us tonight. We appreciate it.
Great to be here, Teresa.
So this is kind of one of those things. I mean, when I used to work up in Albany, I remember the excitement of hearing the governor's State of the State. We wanted to hear about the wins. During my time, it was Spitzer and Patterson that we were listening for. But, we wanted to hear about their wins. And then there was always usually some surprises baked in. And so I'm curious, based on what you know about state politics, and that's pretty much everything, what are you looking to hear from the governor tomorrow?
I'm looking to hear how the governor crafts her affordability message. She said that she's going to make New York more affordable for citizens of the state. And let's be very clear, this is really in many respects the kickoff for the campaign to return to the office of the governor in the fall. So she wants to make common cause, has made common cause with Zohran Mamdani on things as tangible as early childhood care, but doesn't want to go to the extent that he does in terms of taxation and raising money in ways that people are going to find the exact opposite of affordable. So making that argument, one of the ways that under her watch costs have increased, but quality of life may have increased right along with it. She'll probably be talking about congestion pricing, which she was doing last week on the 1-year anniversary of that program, which is pretty dramatically reduced traffic in the city and reduced travel times, picked up travel speeds, returning hours of the week to commuters. I know I'm one of them, moving back and forth across the tunnels and driving into the zone almost every day. So it's going to be a balance. How do you talk about the investments that you're going to make, which always cost some money? And then how does that create more affordability and, beyond the affordability, better quality of life?
Yeah, I'm interested to see how she toes that line as well, because she's always been considered much more of a moderate than, say, somebody like Mamdani. But he won with such support here in the city that I would imagine that she is going to try to bring some of that enthusiasm into her speech. I mean, to be able to kind of curry some favor with the people who voted for him and say, hey, we're on the same side. We're part of the same big tent party.
That's right. And Zohran Mamdani, whatever you think of his policies, has been extraordinarily successful, not all by himself, but he has been one of the major voices centering this affordability question for New York, obviously in the city, but throughout the state and indeed around the country. And we've seen literally all of the successful Democratic candidates approaching the hows differently, perhaps, but always looking at the why, make life more affordable in my city, in my state, in my region. So we're going to see that theme. It's going to be interesting to see how she illustrates that. One of the things that we see at State of the State addresses, and we see it at State of the Union addresses on a national level, is that the governor, or nationwide the president, will invite guests to the event, and they will embody something that the governor wants to be able to show. So maybe she'll invite a cab driver who can pick up 4 more fares during the day because the cab is moving more quickly through traffic. Maybe she'll invite a group of young mothers who need that subsidized daycare in order to keep a job and perhaps put food on the table for the family, while, of course, now having that very expensive service subsidized in the future by the state. So there are lots of things that she can talk about as she tries to create a value proposition that she believes is going to be better than what Bruce Blakeman on the Republican side can sell to the voters of New York in November.
Yeah, you mentioned the affordability crisis, and And in my mind, when you say affordability in New York State, I immediately think taxes. And she has already rejected a hike on income tax, but she has mentioned the possibility of raising the corporate tax. I'm wondering, do you think we're going to hear about that tomorrow, or do you think that's sort of in the weeds and she'll just do some overarching themes and move on?
I would be very surprised if she actually got into that tomorrow, because that would lay a marker down and it would give the Blakeman campaign a lot to talk about before the new year is even fully 2 weeks old. So I would expect that she will talk about finding ways to fund programs, but not being terribly specific about that. Of course, within a month, we're going to have the executive budget, and then we'll see exactly what the proposals are in that regard.
Yeah, you mentioned you mentioned child care, but one of the things that I'm keen to hear about is online child safety, which is something that she has also been talking a lot about, trying to keep kids safe online, which seems to be every parent who has a kid of a certain age, their struggle these days.
Well, absolutely. And she, although it's not exactly the same thing, she has a strong record in adjacent areas. In this case, I'm thinking of the ban on cell phones in schools during school days. That has gone a long way, very popular with a number of with a number of parents. Although there is precedent for more aggressive action in some other areas, but New York and the governor have really led on that particular issue. We see, if we look around the world, some more dramatic interventions, such as Australia, which is now looking to ban anybody 16 and under from having a cell phone and from involving themselves in social media. So there are major, major efforts. It could be that the tide is turning here. People are demanding some kind of attention to what we have seen in dramatic reductions in school performance and dramatic reductions in the ability of children to focus on a task. Many people believe that that is at least partially the fault of social media and of the devices that we hold in our hands and spend so much of the day looking at. So it's safety, but it's also the adjacencies that speak to the success in the educational arena and beyond.
Do you think we're going to hear about the rollback of criminal justice reform? I mean, so much has been said. We don't need to rehash all of it about bail reform, but it seems like there is now a consensus in the state that the original bail reform laws don't work or aren't working appropriately. Do you think we're going to hear about some of that?
We may hear a little bit about it, in that the governor will want to claim credit for a fairly dramatic drop in crime across the state. And any rollback, any action that she has taken in any area that touches law enforcement is going to be something where she wants to claim that particular benefit. So we will probably see her talking about that. We will also, however, I think probably, given how outraged she has been since the Good killing in Minnesota, I expect that we will hear about how she wants to keep New Yorkers safe from ICE. And indeed, there's only so much that a governor can do, but she has been very vocal about that in the last 48 hours, and I would be hard pressed to imagine that it will not find its way into tomorrow's speech.
Lastly, any misses for the governor that you think that she absolutely has to address tomorrow, that she can't get away with not addressing?
She has to talk about affordability. She has to be able to reassure people that their taxes are not going to go up in a fashion that they will find not only burdensome, but perhaps a deal killer for staying in New York. She's got to create some arc of hope for her governorship and her candidacy. But of course, as the sitting governor, it can't just be about what I'm going to do. She has to focus on what I've done. So this really has to be a speech about accomplishment, and accomplishment backed up by a further vision.
All right, we will see. I mean, because putting it out there and giving a great speech, as you all know, that is a small part of the overall battle. Now, getting it through the legislature and then getting an on-time budget, which during my time in Albany, that I remember when we had our first on-time budget for Cuomo when he took
Right.
office, and I remember thinking, why is it so remarkable? And it was like, because it doesn't happen in New York State. It never happens. And it seems like that's kind of fallen by the wayside again, that it's no longer a thing that that you really hold on to. So that might be something that she could bring back as an accomplishment. Get it in, get it done on time, meet your deadline.
makes a huge difference. And when you were up in Albany, I was working for state agencies, and I remember so well going for 3, 4 months without knowing what your budget was going to be. And that makes life extremely difficult, makes it hard to run a state 12 months out of the year. So she would be accomplishing a lot if she returned to that basic good order.
All right, David Birdsell, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us always, but then also thank you for joining us when you have a cold or you're getting over whatever plague is going around right now. We appreciate it.